everyone. In this video, we're going to be going through a art special for top projects. So it's kind of like 9B, I think. So we've gone through the top projects in the NFT space, in some of the top projects. All right, there's going to be many once I make that video and it comes out. But in this specific one, we've seen the art industry blow up quite a lot. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the NFT art space to try and understand what's going on. Now, I put out a thread, this thread yesterday. We're on October 19th as I record this. This was done on October 18th. And in this thread, I kind of touched upon some of the common themes that I've seen from successful crypto NFT artists and just going through some of the patterns. So from the ones that actually sell for a lot of money, why do they do that compared to other artists? And those that are entering as new artists, what do collectors look for? And it's not sort of meant to mean something for, I know art is very, it's a personal thing. People make it. They have different reasons why they make art or mint maybe 10,000 pieces, and whatever they do, whatever your reason is to make art, if you're new to the scene, if you're being experienced in the art space for 10 to 15 years, I'm just going through the collector mindset. So why do people collect certain pieces of art? Why do people sell out their pieces of art? There are certain mechanics. For example, if you're a new artist and then you suddenly make a beautiful piece of art, right? Say it's the best piece of art you've ever made. And everyone knows it's a really good piece of art. Everyone sees it and shares it, right? But you have 10,000 pieces minted on wearables, on Rarible or on OpenSea or wherever it is, meaning there's just so much supply out there. It doesn't really become that sort of a collector type feel. So someone like me, I'll buy it just for fun, but others, they're not going to jump in, because a lot of people in the NFT crypto investing space, they like to buy something that's scarce. That's why you see a lot of editions out of 10, out of 20 sell out. And once it sells out, they want to collect the next set. So it's kind of going through that mindset and what seems to do really well. So I've mentioned here that 0.1 Ethereum to 0.2 per edition, if you're doing a set of 10 being your first drop. That seems to sell out pretty well. Or even if you want to do it cheaper, for example, at the start, you're not really trying to make a ton of money. You're trying to collect collectors. So artists, they're trying to, you're trying to like have a lot of collectors that are chasing your work, right? The more collectors there are that are chasing your work, that own your pieces, that support you, that push you, that hang your art on galleries in the real world, in the virtual world, that tweet your stuff out, the more momentum you have. So your second, third, fifth, 10th drop, it'll start to you'll be able to bump the price up a little bit. Maybe you'll play around with a edition of 20, maybe you'll do a super rare one of one piece or whatever it is. But at the start, I think there are certain mechanics. So I advise you guys to read this. Also as investors, for this video is kind of going through for investors some of the large sales that have happened and why they happened. I know Jose Delbo, right? So he had some very early pieces of his, and he is the early comic artist for, you can even check him out on Wikipedia. He's a very early comic artist for a lot of like the Wonder Woman series, Batman. He's done DC comics. He's done Marvel comics. Check out all of the DC comics and all the stuff he's done. Marvel comics, Barbie, Thundercats. He's done a lot of work and some early stuff from the 1960s. So he's had a very big, long career. At 87 years of age that he is now, he's done a lot in the space. So he didn't start off his journey. So if he comes in with, I'm not going to go into the legalities of things and the copyrights, but I know that his grandson's a copyright lawyer, and they would have consulted the Makers Place lawyers, and no one really would have put an art piece out there as a platform like Makers Place unless they thought they were 100% confident that it could stand up in a court of law. Because obviously there's a Batman, he's doing Marvel and Superman logos of them. So there's some sort of copyright. Maybe he's got special rights because he was the artist for them. Who knows how it works? I don't know. Whoever buys these pieces takes that risk. Whoever sells those pieces take that risk. But we're just going to talk about the money that's coming in, right? So people have that in mind, that yes, he's the early comic artist. Yes, he has some sort of rights to do this. Maybe, potentially, probably. And so a lot of these pieces, people are picking them up. So at the start, I think the first piece that sold was, I think it was this one, The Last Sun, Superman one. And it was a series, there's a few of these that are one of ones. You can see some of these are editions of 10s. Some of these are editions of 250, editions of 20. At the start, there was only editions of one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 editions of ones. And this first one was picked up by Whale Shark, and Whale Shark's a pretty known art investor. I think the second one was a commission piece, The Battle Below the Sea. This was done by Arctic. I think he did the commission piece for this for 25 ETH. Then the third one, I picked it up for 11 ETH, and I think I got extremely lucky on that. I don't know why people didn't fight for it, but it happened. But now there's 3 collectors here. So Whale Shark, me, and Arctic, and we're pretty heavy in the NFT space, and we kind of help push out the space and help grow the space and have galleries. And you can imagine once there's collectors that publicize artists and also artists that do good work and that we are happy to invest in and help grow, then the space kind of evolves more, right? So as an artist, so now Jose Delbo has so many people chasing his work. So obviously we chase his work. This one also sold for Whale Shark. And the most recent piece of his was a collaboration with with Trevor Jones. So let's go to that. Trevor Jones, also a giant in the space, sold a lot of this one, I think, yeah, sold a lot, and we're going to go through that later. But he holds some big records. But you can see this one was sold for max stealth, 2 max stealth, and it's like a animated piece, and it was drawn and colored in by, it was drawn, I think, by Jose Delbo and colored in by Trevor Jones. Okay, so that happened, and then the bidding war for this was nuts, as you guys know. It went all the way up to 302.5 ETH, smashing records, 111,000 USD. It was massive, right? So a collaboration between 2 giants, and you can see also here the fight for this piece. Max Stealth, Phil Collector, Mocha, Pablo, who's really active with Mocha. We had Basilius. So a lot of people fighting for these pieces, right? Because they want that one of one. It's so hard to get a one of one piece now for Jose Delbo. Now that people know who he is, now that the art industry has matured, so a lot of collectors are rushing to the space to try and grab a piece. It's kind of a lot of demand for his pieces. There's a huge appetite. So, you know, he started off with not many people knowing him. He kind of released this 250 piece set, this image here, which is the first, and not many people know this, and this is where due diligence is necessary, where no one really knew that these 250 pieces, they were an art cover for the first and only illustrated and written piece by Jose Delbo. So buying this also comes with a PDF, and not many people know that. And just because it doesn't have a Superman logo, it's nothing famous, but I bought it because, you know, it came with a PDF, and it's the only piece that is very unique to him. But anyway, that's where due diligence is needed, where you have to try and pick up who these people are that you maybe you saw them when the first drop came and you're like, ooh, I'm definitely going to grab another piece, because the more people, as soon as the art space grows up, blows up and people know what's coming, these pieces are going to go crazy. And that's why a lot of us got in, but a lot of us also got in because, you know, we like Jose Delbo. We like a lot of early Marvel comic DC stuff. So, you know, he's a fringe case in the sense of obviously a very popular artist. We also have Trevor Jones that sold his piece, or this drop where there was, I think, 25 pieces of the Picasso's bull, bronze, I think 10 pieces of the silver, 1 piece of the gold. But the one of one piece for the just the one of one piece, 55,000 USD it sold out for. So this whole drop that he did on Nifty Gateway, where Nifty Gateway is a site where people drop every Thursday. I think they drop new artists, and they do a set of drops, and they're popular artists that have social followings and somewhat established in the space. So kind of curated in that sense. If you look at the drops, there's just so much. Yeah, there's a lot of drops. You can go, I think if I go to Marketplace, maybe we can see the number of artists. Here we go, on the left side. So you can see all the artists that have dropped almost every Thursday. We got Blau here as well, who's got a lot of stuff in the music scene. But they're gonna have like Coldies, John Newlander, a lot of money. These are quite established artists. So you can kind of check here to see who these established artists are. And people try and grab their art real quick because they're selling pretty cheap, to be honest, relatively. And secondary market kind of blows up. So you can go to stats and check out some of the appreciation of some of these pieces. 120 of these sold out, 250 of these sold out. So that's Cyborg from UFC. This has gone up 130%. This one's gone up 200%, etc. So you can kind of see the appreciation and what's happening with these pieces. So it's kind of like, it doesn't really matter where you sell your art. So maybe you're on Maker's Place, maybe you're on Super Rare, maybe you're on Rareable. It does kind of matter in the sense of if you're selling just a one of one. Rarible, I kind of see it as you're on your own with Rarible, right? There's no real marketing done there. When you make a piece, you have to push it in socials. But in Makerspace and Super, there's so many artists, collectors following it, where if you make a piece, kind of push it on socials and you have very rare pieces, there's so many collectors here that you benefit from that to a certain degree. Rarible, because there's literally thousands and thousands of artists, whereas Nifty Gateway and stuff, there's probably a handful, and Makerspace there's a handful, a larger handful, and Super Rare there's like maybe hundreds. But yeah, you can stand out a little bit more with Makerspace and Super Rare. So, you know, some Rarible pieces have sold out. Some people on Rarible have done really well too. Here you can create your piece on OpenSea as well. You can create your art piece. And the thing is, like I said before, it doesn't matter where you create your piece because it's a token, right? And that token that you get, you can, once you have that token that represents your piece, you can sell it on OpenSea. The collector can buy it on Rarible or on Super, and then you can relist it on Rarible. So we can kind of take it across platforms. And in that sense, that doesn't matter. Once you have your wallet and your tokens living in that wallet, you can kind of move it across platforms. So you can even make a store on Mintbase and sell stuff here. So the most important thing is kind of being, you know, promoting it from a social point of view. So you can see, let's kind of go through this, through it a little bit. Pricing, we went through that. Scarcity is a big deal, and there's, depending on how popular you are and how established you are, and popularity comes with establishment, right? I don't want to be shallow and say only the popular artists do well. There's so many artists that sell on Super Rare. They all kind of have their own artists that chase those works. But as you get more mature in this industry, and in that sense you get more popular, because it happens naturally with maturity in the industry, where you've been in the industry for 1 or 2 years, a couple of big collectors have your work, and you know, people know that you've been established and you've been doing really good work, and in that sense, the second or third year you start to do really well. You know, a lot of these artists that have one of one pieces, after a while their pieces start to go for astronomical prices, because there's only one piece that exists that is an NFT of that piece from that artist that's recognized as an NFT. So 10 of 10 is also pretty rare, but that 1 of 1 is what a lot of collectors chase for. So Super Rare is really good for that. 10 of 10 is pretty good for, I guess, if you're collecting collectors. So if you're a new artist and you want a lot of collectors to kind of hold your pieces, that's why you kind of go for this 10 out of 10, maybe 20 out of 20s, etc. But also people look for unique art and talent, and you know, it's kind of that uniqueness comes with your style, and different artists again chase a different style. I chase for work that cryptocurrency related, storytelling type stuff. Maybe something, if you have the rights to it in the Marvel, in the Pokemon, you know, I'm a big fan of the 80s, 90s stuff. That was my childhood. So anything that resonates with me, you know, I'll take a look at it. I recently shared this because it's a pretty cool piece. It's showing like Bitcoin being stored on a wallet. So on a hard wallet. So it's pretty cool. People in the crypto scene kind of get this, and that's why if you check it out, the guy, I don't think this guy made it, but he scooped the piece, and look how much engagement it got, because it makes sense to the people in this crowd. So as you kind of get art that resonates with a specific crowd, you'll notice your collector base increasing as an artist. As a collector, you're looking for pieces that you think will appreciate a lot, right? So you want to try and get in early. So if you see maybe you see some artists that have like thousands and thousands of followers, and they're really popular and they get a lot of engagement, they have a very unique style that you want. Maybe you can introduce them to NFTs, and maybe you can say, hey, you know, maybe you can make a deal with them. And this is some stuff that I've done where I'll message artists and I'll be like, hey, you should really check out NFTs. I'm happy to walk you through. I'll get you in touch with Super Rare and whoever you want, whoever I can. I'm happy to even put your stuff in my gallery because I love your work. And I'd love to get your first couple of pieces. Would you do a deal for, you know, $500 or $1,000 each for those pieces? And for them, a lot of them, it's like, whoa, it's a big deal. They'll be happy to do it, because for them it's a digital piece, which they still have the rights to sell those pieces in different ways, but not as NFTs. So once I sell that, that's how I kind of get into a lot of the art that I do. It's kind of like, you know, I'll do my due diligence, but it's very difficult to keep up with everyone else doing the same due diligence on the pieces that are already out there. I try and get in so early where no one even knows what's going on, but I grab it, and then from then onwards, the career of the artist is up there, right? They start doing NFT stuff, and I have some of their artwork, and more collectors join and grab their pieces, and in that time they'll kind of mature as an artist. So as collectors, you know, you're trying to get in early. You're also I'm not going to try and go through like as a collector. Maybe you have your own thing. Maybe you're happy to spend 50 ETH on someone on a piece that is selling for 10 ETH. Historically has sold for 10 ETH because you just want that piece. So the collector mindset is quite different for many different people. Sometimes new, not so much investors, but collectors come in and they're like, ooh, Jose Delbo, all right, I really want his piece. I used to watch his comics. I'm happy to spend whatever it takes. Maybe this guy's rich, maybe he's a billionaire. He's happy to spend like a couple $100K, maybe even $1 million on these pieces. And this is the art world. It's crazy like that, right? It's the industry and niche of billionaires. Where people have so much money that they're happy to spend that. So just some words and a little bit diving deeper on these platforms. So Nifty Gateway, they do a drop every Thursday. So keep in touch with those Twitter account, see if you can get in really early. I know a lot of people try and buy these up real quick, so they finish in seconds. Maker's Place, they have one-of-ones, but you can do editions of 20s and stuff. So it's really good for creators. But they also curate in the sense where you have to apply. Super Rare as well. They are one-of-ones. A lot of like Super Rare does really good on OpenSea rankings, and I'll go through this as well. But you can also create your art on. You can make a storefront here as well if you want for free. There's no application process. Where am I going? Rankings, and you can see here a lot of like Super Rare is like one of the top trending ones, right? And this is why I got into the art scene, because I was like, you know what, like I just can't ignore this anymore. Like this thing has been growing crazy, and I didn't really know much about art until I was like, I'll give this a crack. Like, let me see what's going on here, and that's where I kind of fell into it. So you can see like some of this style is really unique, and maybe it resonates with certain people. But in terms of researching what's going on, you can jump into the project that you want recently sold, and you can check out all the prices that are recently sold. You can jump into it. So this one sold for 7.5 Ethereum. Why did it sell for 7.5 Ethereum? Who's the artist here? So you click in here, the artist, this guy. Maybe you can search that and check out who he is. Maybe he's got a social following, blah, blah, blah. And again, yeah, Super Rare has done really, really well. $3 million earned by artists, $4 million earned by collectively. They're just breaking records now. Like they're just smashing through it. People are buying. That is really cool. So like some of this art just resonates, right? So who is this person? I'll check him out. Maybe it's pretty cool, some of the stuff that he does, right? So like as these artists have their Muhammad Ali. Ooh, I'm a big fan of Muhammad Ali. So he's obviously got an established shop, obviously an established artist, has done a lot of work. So this is kind of like the rabbit hole that you fall into. Like you like the work, you check out the artist. Oh, wow, okay. Definitely pretty established. So again, like not many people know about this, but I'm just covering it here. This is how you kind of live due diligence. So I might actually put a bid for this. So it looks like he just minted it 2 hours ago. So you can check that actually on Twitter. 1 hour ago. So he just dropped his live and for bidding. Very cool. Very, very cool. So yeah, as an investor, like or an artist or a collector, like I'd place a bid for this, right? But anyway, let's not fall into that rabbit hole right now. So that's how you kind of look into the NFT space a little bit in terms of the art space. You try and pick up who, you dive into it a little bit, you try and pick them up before everyone else knows, basically. So yep, that's about it for this video, and I'll see you guys